Super cheap filament dryer? Let's make one. Next. Hey everyone, it's me Jeff. Welcome back to my corner. I live in the Pacific Northwest, okay? And we've had a really interesting summer. We've had the heat dome that's happened, pushing our temperatures. I'm Canadian, 40 plus. I think we had 44 here. Just currently right now it is 30 Celsius and my humidity's about 65, and that's actually a dry day. I'm usually hitting the mid 70s or so for humidity. So with humidity comes moist filament. Now with moist filament, printing it really sucks, okay? So I have a filament dryer. I'll grab that right now. This is my filament dryer, okay? I have a filament dryer. I bought this off a marketplace or Craigslist, can't remember what. I got it like 20 bucks or whatever. And basically what it is just a bunch of trays, and you plug it in, and it's got a really simple, it's just got a heating element in the bottom. And what it does is it heats up, it creates a dry environment, warm air, and it will dry your filaments. So it got me to thinking, well, what happens if people, what happens if they, don't have a food dehydrator or a filament dryer? So what can you do about that? Well, it got me thinking. So I have a spool of moist filament. It's not printing well whatsoever. How can I fix that without getting a filament dryer? Well, you kind of have the tool already there. You have your printer. It's got a heat bed that creates a warm environment that you can control. And that's really basically all a filament dryer or a food dehydrator is. It's a heating element that warms up a chamber, and you leave your filament in there at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time, and it dries it out. So I got my Aquila over here, and I am currently testing it out with a roll of PETG. I've had it in here for a couple hours right now. Now, I'll show you my tests on this and what I've kind of been doing over the past week trying to figure this out, and it's actually worked. I bought a Tupperware container, this sucker right here at the dollar store for $2. I ran a few tests on it in there to see if I could see kind of what was going on, and I'm going to show you those. Basically, I ran it for a couple hours, got my I have one of these at home. I can't remember where I got this from, but basically it's a humidity and a thermometer. You don't really need it to do this. I was just using it for testing. Again, it's not the most scientifically accurate thing. It just gave me ballparks for when I was doing this, because this is by no means scientific whatsoever, okay? But it's a quick fix for you. If you've got a wet roll of filament and you want to dry it out or get it to a point where it's printable, then try doing this. So my first test, I'm just going to put the container on the bed. As you can see currently in the room, it's 26 and about 70% humidity. I'm going to turn on the print bed, let this run for several hours, and try to get the temperature to be about mid 40s. So as you can see, after several hours, I've managed to maintain about 40 degrees just above it. It's stable, and as you can see with the humidity, it's dropped down from 70 to about 45. So it definitely does remove the moisture in the chamber. So this is the second test I conducted. I figured I would try a sealed chamber with the lid on the bottom. As you can tell, it's a hotter day today at 30 degrees, but the humidity is also hotter. Unfortunately, this test didn't quite work out because I guess the air gap at the bottom. So I just figured that I would just simply do these with just the chamber on top of the bed, and that would be it. So I had this super old roll of PETG that I'm going to conduct these tests with. As you can see, this is my first print with the PETG. You'll see what it is in the next clip, but basically this is just stock generic default PETG settings. And this is after I've dried the filament now on the print bed for approximately 8 hours at 70 Celsius. As you can see by printing it, it's looking like an object as opposed to that which was on the print bed before. But you know, it could be stringing or whatnot. So I do have another roll of PETG that I'm going to try out that's in a similar state, and we'll see what the results will be with that. But as a first experiment, you know what, it doesn't look too bad. What I want to actually show you, but you can't really see here, is look at the base on the four-cornered pillar and then look at the base on here. See how stringy and stuff it is? So it might have strung and caused the print to fail utterly, whereas when it's not stringing, it looks like it came out really good. So we're on to our second experiment. This is a different roll of PETG, but in a similar state. This is actually a maize PETG, and I've had this for a couple years now, so it is pretty brutal. But as I'm printing it, you're noticing that it's looking very similar to the first blobs that I had with the first print that wasn't dried. So I'm going to let this finish, and then I'm going to dry the filament, and then I'm going to try and run it again. So this is the second test that's completely finished with the Amaze PETG in a similar state of completely wet. As you can see, it's printing the bases and then it's just kind of going psh, done, right? So, but as you look at the bases, if you can see that, they look pretty rough and pretty stringy. So I'm thinking that might be the cause. So I'm going to dry this roll out now. So I'm going to dry out that rolls of amazed filament. Now all I basically do is I just go into the temperature settings and then adjust it to the temperature that I see online, plus 10, because I know I have that variance. Now if you look here, you'll see I have some spacers underneath the roll. I'm using some silicone socks I have. We probably use some XYZ cubes or CHEP cubes or whatever, just to raise it slightly above the bed to have a lesser point of contact so that heat all comes up nicely. And that's about it. I'm going to let this on here for about 8 hours or so. So it's the next day now, and I am starting to print the that Amaze filament again after I've completely dried it out. And as you can see, it's looking really good actually. It's holding up well. It's not stringing or break. Well, it still is minorly stringing, but it's a heck of a lot better than what it was, as you can tell. The print's almost done here, and as you can see, it's looking really, really good. So I'm very impressed with this. Now I'm going to show you a couple close-ups right now of the before and after, and I want you to have a look here. So this is obviously the before and after. You can tell which ones, but you can still see stringing with the PETG, which is going to happen. But if you look at the base here, how bad the stringing was before compared to after. So yeah, I'm going to say our filament dryer test was successful. If you're in the need for a quick solution to drying a roll of filament, if you're having really crappy prints, like kind of what I showed you with that super wet PETG that I had, both of them, you know, give this a shot. Grab a cheap container or a lid, throw it on your print bed, set your temperature for your bed. As I say, my results were about 10 degrees higher than it actually needed to be. Your results will vary, of course. You'll have to play around with it a little bit. Online, there's tons of charts on temperatures to dry your filaments at. I tend to basically kind of shoot for those temperatures and kind of leave them in for like at least 8 hours, and that's about it. The first one I was kind of apprehensive about. I didn't know if it tore apart because of stringing or whatnot. The second one I did, same thing, but once I dried it and had consistent results by drying it, I kind of figured out that, you know, it's the drying that's working, right? So yeah, there you go. The drying thing, the solution, the $2 filament dryer worked out, right? So yeah, hey, if this helped you out, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment below if you have anything to add. And as always, if you're cruising through the channel, please hit subscribe. And until next time, see ya.